she could be an awful, nasty human and it would be worth it. And then turns out she's also lovely and kind and fun.
And cool.
Heard
it here first.
And gorgeous.
What if we trick them into getting back together?
What are you doing here?
The twins!
This movie is pretty delightfully filthy. Were there any jokes or lyrics that you were at all kind of worried about making it in or ruffling feathers during this process?
Every single one. And that's why we said critical mass. If you have enough of them, maybe they won't notice.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You just go. And then when they say cut some of these, you're like, that's fine.
Can you share any experiences of certain days or sequences that were particularly kind of hard to get through? This movie is so over the top and bananas.
I'm gay. Queer as a $3 bill and just as thin.
Well, there's a lot of days like that on this film. There was a lot of laughter, because it is so absurd and insane. So we just had a lot of fun, and there were certain things with Megan the Mullally as opposed to the Stallion, and the Stallion, I should say. Megan the Mullally. In the restaurant scene, I had a great deal of difficulty keeping a straight face through a lot of her. In her telling the saga of her fallen vagina. Your pussy fell off.
Yes, it certainly did.
The whole shoot was 20 days, so people were really on their game. And then we built in enough time that people could mess around, but the hardest day probably was Nathan feeding the sewer boys. That he just didn't believe he was going to do it. And I made him, and he did it.
Sewer boys?
Disgusting! They're not disgusting, they're gay culture.
But that was probably that wasn't really very difficult, really. He was extremely cooperative. He just couldn't believe we were going to do it. But everything else went really smoothly. We didn't have one hard day. Every day was hard, but very efficient and very productive,
Yeah, I love it. I don't think I'll ever look at deli meat the same way, and I tend
Good.
That's it. One takeaway from the movie.
Another theme of the movie.
And you feel more positively about it now, is what you're saying, right?
Oh, 100%.
I had one thing. Well, we were shooting our only night shoot, and it was 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And it was for California. You know how the coldest it ever gets is like 47. It was that, and it was literally 4 a.m. It was the last thing before they were going to wrap. And I had to do that high note. I had to belt out that high note.
Right.
And I was sitting, whatever I was sitting in, the camera was there. And I had to sing the high note like this at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was freezing. But it was kind of fun, though. It was kind of a challenge,
Wow. Yes.
Bowen, I just loved your narration throughout the whole movie. I was wondering what it was like. I assume you were kind of like on your own island for a lot of that. What was it like bringing those sequences together? Did you have any, reservations about some good old fashioned blasphemy? What was that like for you?
Not at all. As someone who has been on either end of whatever, like let's just say agnosticism. I feel like I feel like I got to give a pretty holistic take on God. But yeah, I mean, we shot a lot of my narration stuff just in one day, and it was just a nice sort of. It was a nice volley of things from Larry of just being like, okay, now you're gonna do some powdered drug and go. And now you're gonna be asleep, and then this is something that we didn't use, but there might be a war happening behind you.
Yes.
So that was just a fun sort of grab bag of a day where just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Josh and Aaron sat with me. The three of us sat together, and we just were kind of hanging out with Bowen, and there was a camera there, and he was dressed like God.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was a pretty normal day.
Yeah.
Corey, I do want to push back on your blasphemy, though. To us, this celebrates and deifies God.
Yes,
and sort of
yes.
shows them the respect they're due.
Right.
Yes.
It shows
No,
that
I
God
mean-
is unknowable. That is a very important point.
Is knowable?
Unknowable.
I see. Yeah, of course.
We all have our different definitions of what God is.
Very true.
And we're saying that he's everything.
Yes.
Or it's not even he, I'm sorry. They. They are everything. So that's one of the most important themes in the movie.
Yeah, that definitely. Bitch, that was fun.
Megan, you're dealing with this character's really specific accent. You have the wheelchair. There's a lot of like things flying at you in that regard. Can you speak about kind of grappling with all of the stuff?
Should we drown him in the bathtub in the old-fashioned way?
It was fun to have that wheelchair. I think originally it was just going to be a regular old-fashioned, and then I was like, no, it has to be an electric wheelchair. And then we had to kind of choreograph that one number. I think it's the first number that Evelyn has in the apartment. So we had to kind of, part of it was they had to put the wheelchair up on a turntable. I don't remember how they shot it exactly, but there was wheelchair choreography for sure. It was kind of fun though. It was a nice extra little element. And also because Evelyn then at certain points just stands up and seemingly is fine. So that's good too.
That's right. It's revealed she doesn't really need a wheelchair.
Not particularly.
She's just lazy.
I was just curious what your collaborative relationship was like with Megan Thee Stallion. This is a high concept project, and just wondering what that give and take was like, because
Well,
she seemed down to clown.
As you know, we've been her backup dancers for 6 or
Yes.
7 years
That's
now.
how we got into the industry.
That's how we got into the industry. So to be able to come forward and sort of share things together was really
She
cool.
was really excited to share the stage with us in that way. No, she was amazing. She's such a pro. She was so funny. She's so easy to work with. It was a blast. I mean, she was really cutting up with the dancers in between takes.
We were always like, she's so talented and turns out funny. We were like, she could be an awful, nasty human and it would be worth it. And then turns out she's also lovely and kind and fun.
And cool.
And cool.
Heard it here first.
And gorgeous. She's a doll.
Wow, a lady boss. I guess it really is the year that it is.
I identify as a Katie Bowen.
Corey from CinemaBlend.
Hi,
Do you
friends.
like the rest of us? Or-
We met in Toronto.
Yeah, we met.
Yes, I just had to identify. I had to put that out there, otherwise I would be remiss.
Journalistic
But,
Journalistic
Right.
purposes. It's about integrity.
I'm going to continue heralding it from the rooftops and making sure all of my gays will run haul ass to the theater. So thank you so
Great,
much.
Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
And keep blending cinema. Don't stop blending cinema.
Never stop.